Thursday morning. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Zach Lashway. Members of the law enforcement community and Brazoria County residents are mourning the loss of Brazoria County Sheriff Deputy Jesus Vargas. Investigators say Vargas was shot and killed by 56-year-old Robert Lee Davis III. Joining me now to talk more about what happened is KPRC 2 investigative reporter Mario Diaz. Mario, good morning. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Yesterday was a long day. It was a tragic day. Walk us through everything we know almost 24 hours later.
Yeah, good morning to you, Zach. You can tell I'm with my dog, Luna, and you talk about the Westbury Animal Clinic. We're going to get to that in a second and what took place, because this was a shooting like we have never truly seen before play out here in Houston. Sadly, we had a deputy who lost his life, Deputy Vargas. I heard of the shooting and I started making phone calls, and I contacted someone down in Brazoria County who I know, a member of law enforcement, and he just said this is a terrible, terrible day. This was before the news actually broke out. What people at home have to understand in these kind of situations, there are two teams that are racing against the clock, right? You have the members of law enforcement who are trying to track down the killer in the situation. But then you have another member of law enforcement, another team that's trying to track down the family of the officer. Yeah. They're racing to them to break the news so that they don't see the news or hear the news elsewhere first. And it took us a while to get the confirmation yesterday of the tragic passing. Then obviously we had the suspect in this case. You had this task force, the Gulf Coast Task Force, from the U.S. Marshal's Office. It's comprised of various members of law enforcement, and what they do is they go after the worst of the worst who are wanted, who may have skipped out on bail. And that's the case with the suspect here in Davis. And I'm just going to mention his last name because what we know from Davis, and looking at it, he had a lengthy criminal history in Harris County alone. Yeah. There were crimes that took place in Fort Bend County. And there was also a crime that took place with regards to theft in Galveston County last year. I spoke to his attorney in that case. He confirmed to me he was his client. He had skipped out on bail in Galveston. We know there was a recent investigation here in Harris County, as well as the past. So this was somebody who was wanted. And that's why they were looking for him. And that's why they were approaching him to take him in. And then you had the tragedy. And follow me through here, Zach, because I'm obviously detailing everything that took place yesterday. But what really captured everyone's, just caught him by surprise was where he was at the very end, right? This shooting happened in a shopping center right over in the southwest part of the city. And then about 150 yards away from the shopping center, hours after officers had been looking for him, you had a member of canine law enforcement, a dog, that goes inside of a dumpster and sniffs him and sees him. And then that's when the dog gets hit with 2 shots. The dog's name is Rocky. He's a 1.5 years old. He had been in service for 6 months, and he's a German Shepherd mix, a Belgian. It's a Belgian name, Malinois, but it's part of the Shepherd family. And what happened was that's how they were able to track him down and put him down. But you saw this race for a canine officer, and all of the officers rallying behind him to get Rocky to the veterinarian clinic for an emergency surgery. And that's where we found out that he was going to make it. We first reported that yesterday. KPRC 2 Investigates did. Tragic day. We lost an officer, obviously, in our Houston area. They got the suspect, and you had one of these animals who are trained to obviously go after the bad guys, get injured. Fortunately, he was grazed. He was shot in the neck. He's going to make it, and that's the very latest that we have. But a riveting day, and we felt it inside the newsroom, Zach.
Oh, absolutely. I was watching from a car at around 5 o'clock, the top of the 5, as this was breaking. Mario, really quick, I'm really out of time, but I want to ask you, being today is a new day, where do we go from here?
I think obviously they're going to look at, in these kind of situations, you're going to have teams from law enforcement examine what went wrong here, right? What could have been done differently? And that's the challenge, right? Because you're going to have to examine how this went down. You're also going to be focusing on this man's history. Why why was he out on the streets for so long if he skipped bail, or excuse me, if he skipped his court date back in Galveston in September, and he was able to allegedly, according to the records, commit more crimes in Harris County. And then the other thing is you're going to be looking at this animal, right? A dog. We're going to be following exactly what's going on with Rocky. I will let you know, I spoke with a dog trainer who's a friend of mine months ago about how resilient these animals are. And he said, listen, a dog can go through a lot, and they're protected too. They do have protected vests. So to hear that Rocky made it yesterday made a lot of people feel good. Again, so devastating with the loss of life of Deputy Vargas. But they're going to examine exactly how this procedure went down. They're going to look at the criminal suspect's history. Why was he out? And they're also going to be, many people are going to be rallying around Rocky today for the job that he did in taking this guy out.
Certainly a hero, that's for sure. Mario Diaz with KPRC2 Investigates, as always, sir. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it.